This is Zone of the Unseen. Today, the Law of Polarity. No fluff. Just what you need to shift your emotions, energy, and outcomes, using one of the most overlooked universal principles. Let's begin. You aren't stuck. You're simply stationed at the bottom of a spectrum. And what looks like failure is really just the first step toward success. Fear? That's just courage waiting to be called. Hate? It's love turned inside out. This is the law of polarity, the principle that every single thing in existence is tethered to its opposite. And when you learn how to work with it, you won't have to avoid the darkness. You'll learn to convert it into light. All of life is contrast, hot and cold, fear and faith, masculine and feminine, day and night. But these aren't enemies locked in battle. They're coordinates on a map. You can travel between them. And once you do, you'll stop being ruled by your emotions and start designing your own frequency. Most people live in a state of reaction. They feel low and spiral lower. They feel powerless and shrink, believing that life is just a series of random events. But polarity tells you a different story. It says you're not broken, you're just polarized. When you stay stuck on one end of the spectrum, you forget the most important truth of all. There is always a higher pole, and you can always climb. Let's break the myth. Polarity doesn't just mean opposites. It means degrees of the same single energy. Hot and cold are just temperatures. Rich and poor are just money states. Confidence and anxiety are simply belief in motion. It's all one spectrum. This means you don't need to destroy your fear. You just need to raise its vibration. You don't need to fix your life. You need to shift your pole. This is the real definition of alchemy. It's not about turning lead into gold. It's about turning emotion into elevation. So, what stops people from doing this? They wait to feel better before they act. They think their pain means something is wrong. They mistake heaviness for failure. But the law of polarity tells a different story. Struggle is just resistance to motion. The moment you act, the field shifts. Pain isn't your enemy, it's an alarm. And it's also your invitation. What if everything you're resisting is sacred? What if grief is actually the door to wisdom? What if insecurity is simply unused power? What if fear is just the first shape of faith? You aren't here to escape contrast, you're here to learn from it. You are here to move between the poles and to consciously choose your place on the spectrum. Because once you choose consciously, life stops happening to you and starts responding to you. You don't need to wait for the world to change. You don't need to heal for 10 years. You need to shift. One vibration, one action, one pole. That's how you begin, and that's how everything begins to change. Next time life pulls you down, just ask yourself two simple questions. Where am I on the spectrum? What is the next step toward the opposite pole? Then take it. Here's a practical takeaway. The Daily Polarity Protocol, a 5-minute version you can do right now. Identify your dominant emotion today. Label your personal polarity spectrum. For example, fear to courage. Write one action that moves you toward that higher pole. For example, speak up. Move forward. Set a boundary. Do it within the next 10 minutes. For your weekly upgrade, track your emotional home base. Ask yourself, where do I live emotionally? Where do I want to live? Then build the bridge. Remember, emotion is energy in motion, polarity is the map, and action is the vehicle. If this brought light, motion, or clarity to your path, go ahead and like this video. Share it with someone else who's climbing their own spectrum, and subscribe to Zone of the Unseen for more teachings that decode the laws behind reality. Next up, the law of rhythm. How to rise above emotional cycles and ride the wave with mastery. Until then, fear is not your enemy. It's your fuel. Struggle is not failure, it's feedback. You're not here to avoid the darkness. You're here to turn it into light. Shift your pole and reality will follow.